Make sure you don't miss a thing. Go to starzology.com/newsletter and sign up. Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I'm your host, Alison Price, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Arwen O'Neill.
Hello, Alison. It's great to be here.
So nice to have you once more. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about prenatal eclipses.
Right. I love that.
It's one of those, there's something, it's what I call advanced natal astrology.
Yes, it absolutely is. Yeah.
And not everybody uses it, and maybe it's news to some people.
Yeah.
And that's great. So in general, we have eclipses, right?
Yeah.
We've got a solar eclipse. We've got a lunar eclipse.
We've got about 2 of each per year, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually at the minimum. Sometimes there's more.
Oh.
And I remember in 1935, I think there was 7. It was a record year because it was just the way the sun was positioned. So technically, the sun has to be within 18 degrees of a node.
Okay.
And then it has to be a new or a full moon. And then there is potential for an eclipse.
Well, I mean, nothing important or significant was happening in 1935, right?
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, if ever there was a year where,
Europe turned over.
Yeah.
Well, when we do our history, we'll dig into that as well, because that's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, the idea is that we get eclipses every 6 months, and there's 2 or 3 at a time, and they're called eclipse seasons.
Yeah.
And so in each year, you're going to have an eclipse season early in the year and one later in the year, and they're slowly slide as the years go on.
Yeah.
But there's always 2 6 months apart.
I've always wondered about that. So if they happen 6 months apart, why do we call it eclipse season?
Well, that's a new trend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that because just everything has to be a season these days, like TV
apparently
seasons,
it does.
podcast seasons?
We're in our growth season and this and that.
It's like an era.
Yeah. So when I started astrology, they weren't called seasons. They were just called the first eclipse grouping.
Okay,
and then the second. But now we have eclipse season because it's a good way of, Yeah, it's got nothing to do with the seasons at all, actually. But we get 2 sets of eclipses, the early one and the late one. So now we say it's the first season of the year or the second season of the year, and those are where the eclipses happen.
Cool.
Right?
Okay.
And there will always be a solar eclipse and then a lunar eclipse associated with it 2 weeks before or after.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what we're going to be talking about today is prenatal eclipses.
Right.
So prenatal means before, and natal means
For
the birth.
Yeah.
The before birth. So what we're talking about is eclipses that happened when you were still in your mother's womb in the 9 months she was pregnant.
Yeah. So usually
the mind boggles, right?
We're in there for 9 months. Yeah.
Yes.
So there could potentially be 2.
2 seasons.
2 solar eclipses. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Or multiple.
Multiple,
Yeah.
exactly. And so when we're working with prenatal eclipses, one generally takes the eclipse most before the birth.
Most closely.
The one closest to the actual birth.
Yeah.
So technically it could be the day before, or even the day, if you were born on an eclipse, as some people are. Yeah. You know, Prince William and Prince Catherine are both born on eclipses, which is 6 months apart.
And Pope John Paul famously.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right on an eclipse.
Yeah. So that your prenatal eclipse could happen any time between, the day you were born, basically, and going back 6 months.
Okay, yeah.
Or you may have had prenatal eclipses a month before you were born, and then again another 6 months prior to that, so 7 months before you were born.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and even kids that are prematurely born, say at 7 months, still can squeak in an eclipse there.
Oh, for sure.
And I understand that they can get it down to 20 weeks for survival, but I'm not sure about that. So technically, if that was you may not actually have an eclipse. Then you would have to go back to prior.
Interesting.
But the survival rate is, anyway, 7 months. You can they can definitely keep things moving
for
forward.
Sure. That's one of those scientific things that's probably getting more and more.
I think
younger and
so.
younger, yeah. I don't know.
But
I haven't kept up with that.
The viability of the birth is very much in question at that point. But say, for instance, you've got twins or triplets, they tend to want to deliver them 2 weeks early or something like that. So anyway, no matter where you are or when you were born, there will be a prenatal eclipse that you would go back and find. So technically, there could be the eclipse prior to your birth could be a solar eclipse or it could be a lunar eclipse.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah. So if it's a lunar eclipse, I always go back to the solar because solar eclipses are the beginning of the cycle.
Yeah.
Whereas the lunar is the culmination of the cycle.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's because this is a bit of a topic that sort of piques my interest of late.
Yeah.
And prenatal eclipses in general. And so I don't know if you know, but when you're pregnant, there's something called quickening.
Yeah.
And this, yes. So when the mother can feel the first movement of the fetus, that's known as the quickening. And the doctors always want you to remember that date and tell them when it was, because it could definitely date your pregnancy. Because of course you could have fallen pregnant in a week of period.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
So whatever that date is, and this is where this saying, the quick and the dead, comes from, because if you are quick, you're alive and therefore moving, or you're dead.
Wow.
Yes.
I always thought it had something to do with dueling in the Old West.
I know. Well, I think that's really what, you're either quick or you're dead. Well, yeah. Mm-hmm. But so it goes that way as well. And it occurs to me that this time period can be around 18 to 24 weeks when that happens, because the fetus has to be big enough to make an impression on the mother, and it has to have had the growth in its lifetime. Even though a fetus could be older, it may not have got the weight or the heft for the mother to feel the movement.
Right.
So,
wow.
And I think there's some connection here with this prenatal eclipses. I'm not saying it happens on those days, but what I'm saying is there has to be some kind of, we know there's life happening, and you get these moms who put Mozart on headphones on their belly.
Right. Yeah.
To put, what's it called, majors for minors or something. And
oh, that was such a trend. True. Yeah.
Yes, and if you argue a lot when you're pregnant, it affects the child and this sort of thing. So there's no reason why a prenatal eclipse wouldn't either.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. Here's a hilarious digression, and I'm just going to dive into this one. My mother was pregnant with me in the 70s, of course, because I was born in 1973.
Right.
And she was living in Toronto at the time when she was pregnant, and Vancouver. Anyway, Canada. And Neil Young was just coming up in his fame. And my dad was a huge fan. So they went to a concert when she was pregnant with me. And she got sort of, kind of crushed up against the stage a little bit by the fans, and kind of had to be, pulled out of the, it wasn't a mosh pit, but, the 70s, it was, whatever. But she, kind of got lightheaded and had to be pulled away, and was just like, oh my God, And ever since then, I hated Neil Young. When I was a kid, anytime Neil Young would play, really? I would scream and cry, and I could never stand to hear Neil Young when I was a kid, which was, much to my father's consternation, I would think.
Yes.
Yeah, and my mother insists it's because she took me to this concert when she was pregnant with me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think what you do as a mother when you are pregnant does affect the child.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Things that upset you upset them too. And
totally.
you're getting worked up about something, the kid's getting worked up about something.
I mean, they talk about kids of mothers who are pregnant during, huge events like 9/11 or something like that, where the stress hormones, I mean, now we know it's stress hormones, that's a real thing, cortisol, and it affects everything. All the systems.
Yeah.
I mean, the child is surviving off of your body. So if your body is pumping out stress chemicals, it makes perfect sense.
It is so true.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's kind of interesting. There's not much research been done into it. The actual prenatal eclipse is in vitro, meaning, while you're still... Because you have to find a pregnant mother who's open to astrological conversation.
Yeah.
And, of course, just because you've got a prenatal eclipse, that is just a feature. It becomes a point in your chart, but of course your actual birth chart reigns supreme. Let's be quite clear there that we're not going to say this eclipse is going to eclipse your birth.
Yeah. It's just one
you see what I did there?
Very, very good. Yes.
So you will still have your birth chart of the moment you were born, when you took your first breath. But it's interesting to go back to see, well, where was this eclipse? Because there are not many other actual pointers that you can link back to during that 9 months, apart from the quickening. So that was another thing as well.
Yeah.
If you are a returning listener and enjoying the Starzology podcast, supporting the show is always appreciated. It helps us continue producing episodes and covers the costs involved in keeping the podcast online. There's a link in the show notes. Yeah, so it's kind of, I think it's interesting. It's one of those things that you think, gosh, I need to explore this further, or not,
It's one of those things too, where there's just going to be more and more research that's done from a kind of a ground up, holistic, or whatever it's called, grassroots kind of level.
Yes.
Like there was this website I used to absolutely love, and it kind of fell by the wayside. Or I think it might even still be live, but no one's really keeping it up. And it was about your sun, moon, and rising sign, and people sent in photos of, based on their holy trinity, so to speak, of like their sun, their moon, and the rising sign, and it grouped all these people together. And you could see these crazy similarities, right?
Yeah.
And when that website kind of, stopped being updated very much, there was a Facebook group. And it got a bit helter-skelter,
Yes,
like people are
yes.
just, posting all sorts of weird junk. And who knows, how accurate things were.
Yes.
But I could see this being something where a Facebook group or some kind of grassroots, crowdsourced kind of thing could be really interesting for researching that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because, of course, it's not going to be, university funded, but
No. So, I've been digging into quite a lot of the charts in my family and discovering the prenatal eclipses and exploring this further. But if you're going to do astrological research, honestly, you need 1,000 charts, and I've probably got 15 at this point. So if anyone's interested in wanting to send me their data, I'd be interested to know about that.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll get more to that at the end.
Yeah.
So the idea is that Starzology, which is, yes, there's a word. That's a word that comes in crosswords. So that means that the sun, the moon, and the sun, the moon, and the earth are all lined up to create an eclipse. If they're not fully lined up, there is no eclipse, because there's a lot of near misses, but it only as the sun and the moon come towards the moon's nodes, which is where the moon crosses the sun's path, that's the eclipse point.
Right.
Okay. Just by the way, yeah.
That seems ripe for a diagram.
Yes. Yeah. Well, okay. So I would encourage anyone who's listening and already thinking, what are they talking about? Click through to the blog post. There's a lot more information there as well.
Yep.
So I also talk a bit more about the two types of eclipses, solar eclipse and lunar eclipse, and their general meaning. But you can go into that anyway. If you're an astrology student, you would definitely, but prenatal eclipses are kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. And I do have some thoughts about why would you even study prenatal eclipses in the first point?
Okay.
Who has time, right? As I say, your birth chart always remains the foundation of the chart interpretation. It's like the mothership of your life, and everything else hinges on it. Mm. So your prenatal eclipse never replaces your birth chart, but it becomes a point within it, much like the part of fortune, the vertex, or the nodes.
I love that. Yeah.
And with studying a prenatal eclipse, it may reveal underlying life themes, because it's right there, unconscious motivations, areas of personal development, karmic or evolutionary patterns, and another chart to compare to the natal horoscope.
Yeah.
What chart you say? The eclipse chart, we answer.
Right. So the eclipse chart.
Yes.
Do you then use it as do you put that in a biwheel then with your birth chart? How do you then apply it to your own chart? How does that work?
First of all, I would want to find out when the eclipse was.
Yeah.
We would then cast the chart for that eclipse and get the exact position, and then take that position and put it into your natal chart to see where in your chart the eclipse occurred.
Of the sun or the moon?
Of
whichever
the eclipse
it was.
point.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah,
what do you mean of the sun and the moon?
Right, exactly. So the moon, an eclipse is the sun and the moon in relationship to each other.
Yes.
So when you say you take the eclipse chart, are you taking the point where the sun? I'm acting as the complete
No, I understand.
Here.
I just want clarity on the question.
Yeah, exactly. The question is, when you're taking something from that eclipse chart, you're not comparing the entire chart to your birth chart, right? Or are you?
No, not at that point.
Right. So are you taking the placement of the sun or the moon and putting it into your birth chart?
Well, the eclipses occur at the moon. So it's always going to be the moon.
Even if it's so we're only talking solar eclipses, and we're only talking the position of the moon.
It could be lunar, but still then the eclipse occurs where the moon is.
Okay, cool. Good to know. Awesome.
So I do have an example chart on the blog post, and it's for Keanu Reeves, who we may know who he is.
We do.
And I thought he was a Canadian, but darn tootin', no, he was born in Beirut, Lebanon.
Wow.
Who knew? So anyway, I've got his chart there, and I've got his natal chart on the blog post, and you'd have to click through, and I'm sorry if you're just listening. But anyway, the point being that I have inserted his prenatal eclipse, which is this position right here at 17. His prenatal eclipse was at 17 Cancer.
Wow.
So it's right here in his 11th house conjoined his moon. And that's how I would, if you're my client, I'll put that in. I'll write it in PNE, prenatal eclipse.
Wow. What year was he born?
He was born in 1964, September the 2nd.
Wow.
Yes, 1964. So that's what I'm noting here. So on his birth chart, this is how you would note it. On his birth chart, you write prenatal eclipse, you put the position. I also then just write at the top on the right, the prenatal eclipse was at 17 Cancer. It was a North Node eclipse, because it's either going to be a South Node or a North Node eclipse. And the Saros series is 2 North. So we'll get to that in a minute. That's another conversation.
So the position of the moon is what we're looking at in the eclipse chart. That's the important thing.
Well, yes. You see, if you don't know what an eclipse is, you can go to your ephemeris and find it, and it will tell you the exact position. The eclipse was at 17 degrees Cancer, 52.
But as opposed to looking at the position of the sun, we're looking at the position of the moon.
Yes. It's always where the moon is.
Always
and if you haven't got an ephemeris, get one. Otherwise, go to the NASA site, and they will list all the eclipse positions.
Yeah. Or astro.com, actually, to be fair. You can look at they have a...
They do?
They have a 4,000-year ephemeris. You can look at any... Yeah, but trust me, I've used that a lot.
Well, you're going to be using it later on tonight then, clearly. So anyway...
Don't threaten me with a good time.
So that's his chart there. So first of all, let's just say, how do you find your prenatal eclipse? I've got some thoughts on that again.
Okay.
So the solar eclipse, you've got to look for the glyphs in the ephemeris. So the solar eclipse glyph looks like a conjunction with the hole filled in. And then the lunar eclipse looks like an opposition with the holes filled in.
So like a little dumbbell.
Like a little dumbbell.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the sun and the moon at each side.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at your ephemeris, the eclipses have these symbols, they're glyphs.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for.
Cool.
So you go to your birth date and you look backwards to find the eclipse.
Yeah. So this is definitely something where you do need an ephemeris.
Well, you kind of do.
Yeah.
You kind of do. Well, that's the easiest way to do it. So anyway.
Yeah.
And the idea being that you would then find the eclipse. As I say, if it's a lunar, then I would go back further to find the solar, because that is the start point.
Yeah.
So anyway, you're looking for the solar eclipse, which was simply the last solar eclipse before you were born. You want to record the date, the zodiac sign, and the exact position, including its degree, and it's listed in the ephemeris. So you can then go and actually cast that chart for your birthplace. So even if your mother was in Mexico when she was pregnant with you and the eclipse occurred, you still want your birthplace on the eclipse chart.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you can do this with the eyeball method. So if we look at your birth chart and we know that wherever the sun is, it has to have been within a 6-month period the prenatal eclipse would have occurred. So it can only be clockwise from your sun at least half a chart.
Okay.
So as we're looking at Arwen's chart, we see her sun is there in the 10th house. So we could say, well, somewhere in this area of the chart is the eyeball method is going to be your prenatal eclipse.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I'm calling it, the eyeball method. We're very technical here.
Yeah.
And then I do then have a diagram of Keanu Reeves's prenatal eclipse chart. So this is the actual chart that occurred for him. So this was on, he was born in September. This is now for July the 9th. And this is the actual eclipse chart. And what I'm saying there is this is it's 17 Cancer, North Node, Saros 2. And there's the actual, there's a diagram there where the sun and the moon are absolutely conjunct at that solar eclipse.
Yeah.
This is the eclipse chart, his prenatal eclipse chart.
Got it. Cool.
Now, bear in mind that anyone born in that 6-month period that he was will have the same prenatal eclipse chart.
For sure.
Yeah. That is to, interpret that as you will. There's a lot going on there too. Where the eclipse occurs is important because that means the area of life where the eclipse is actually going to be of significance. For example, if you have a fourth house prenatal eclipse, it may emphasize your home, family, and roots. If you have a 7th house prenatal eclipse, it may highlight partnerships. Obviously, these are the house meanings. And then if you have, say, a 10th house prenatal eclipse, it may point towards career, reputation, and public life. So you need to understand a bit about astrology to even start with this. This is not the first thing you're going to learn.
Yeah.
But it's important. So let's just go back one step and find Arwen's.
Ooh.
Ta-da!
Yay, let's do that.
Prenatal eclipse. So because I did this earlier,
it's just like one of those cooking shows where it's
I just whip out a plan. Yeah, I prepared this earlier. So I've gone back to, from your birth date, and I find that the prenatal eclipse for you is on June the 30th of the birth year.
Ooh.
And it's at 9 Cancer, and it's the 11th South.
Wow.
So if it's at 9 Cancer in your chart, we're going to find it now in the 9th house.
Yep.
This episode is brought to you by New Moon Wishing, a self-care guidebook for wishful thinkers. Please see the link in the show notes.
It's conjunct my south node, no?
Yes.
Wow.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And Saturn.
Yes, exactly. So that is the eclipse chart that you need to go and dig out and analyze. And then I also did it for myself, which I've known about for years. But anyway, so for my prenatal eclipse was on the April the 8th of that year at 18 Aries.
Yeah.
So that's in my 10th house.
Amazing.
So the point being that it's still within, as you can see, it's quite within the half of the chart from the sun clockwise. And also because we know it's at the node, I mean, we can see the node large as life. The eclipse is going to be happening there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had South Node, and I too had a South Node prenatal eclipse. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, so let's just have a look at, so what do we care? What are we looking at? So really what you wanted to find is, where does this prenatal eclipse point in your chart make connections? Mm-hmm. And if it's making conjunctions, such as we see in your chart, because it's at the South Node and it's actually conjoining Saturn too.
Yeah.
So a conjunction blends the eclipse energy directly to the natal planet, okay? And this often makes the eclipse influence highly personal and easier to recognize throughout your life. If it's conjoined a planet, that planet is going to be carrying that nature of your eclipse as well, because it's blended. But if it's just randomly plonked, such as mine is, it's not conjoining.
Yeah. Interesting.
So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
And then if it's opposing, so the opposition creates polarity, and it may indicate an ongoing need to balance the two areas of experience or integrate contrasting qualities. So, admittedly, it's opposing the North Node. It would be. It's going to be connecting to a node.
Yeah.
But you've got your prenatal eclipse conjoining Saturn, but it's not opposing anything.
Yeah.
So, but conjunctions and oppositions are the only two aspects I use with eclipses, because that's the nature of eclipses.
Of an eclipse, yeah, for sure. That makes sense. But it's interesting, though, that there is a connection to the North Node, or the South Node, rather, both, essentially. Yeah, because those are sort of very similar to eclipses in a way.
Well, that's why the eclipse is there, because of the South Node.
Yeah, yeah.
So when we're eyeballing your chart, we can say, well, it's going to be over there somewhere.
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
So this is why. So here's the thing too. If you are looking at somebody's natal chart and they just give it to you and say, what do you think of my chart? And you can immediately see that there's a planet conjoined the node, or the sun is conjoined the node. You can see whether prenatal eclipse is likely to occur just by eyeballing it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you'd have to go and dig out the exact degree.
For sure.
But the point is that you can see that, and you can say, oh, you were born at an eclipse. We have to check that.
Yeah. And they'll be like, what?
I know. So the difference between solar and lunar. So really, is it a solar-focused eclipse? Because solar eclipses are, or is it lunar-focused? Some astrologers here in Vancouver do lunar. I disagree, but anyway, let's talk it through. So the point being that you want to know if it's solar or lunar because each has a different emphasis. A prenatal solar eclipse points to beginnings, purpose, and future developments, which is what this is why we're living.
Yeah.
Whereas a prenatal lunar eclipse frequently highlights emotional responses, relationships, and themes, or completion or release, because it's the opposition. So it's the opposition only occurred because of the solar eclipse associated with it.
Yeah.
When the moon was back here making the conjunction, even if there wasn't a solar eclipse at that time, that's the start point, not the lunar.
Right.
So, yeah. And then if we just have a quick look at the moon's nodes. So there's a North Node and a South Node. And the idea is that North Node eclipses suggest qualities that encourage growth and future development. North Node eclipses tend to symbolize the tide coming in that brings goodies for you up onto the beach. And the theme is to gather in for the future. So it's like that movie with Tom Hanks when he was on Castaway, and suddenly
I was thinking about Castaway a lot today for some reason.
And he got a trunk, and he opened the trunk. There was this trunk on the beach in the morning that the tide had brought in. Yeah. That's North Node.
Yeah, the FedEx packages, and then he opens them up, and it's just all these random things, and
just a load of junk,
and a soccer ball named Wilson.
There you go. The point being that when you get things at the North Node that land on your beach, as it were.
Yeah.
So you open your treasure chest and who knows what's in there.
Who knows, exactly.
So that's North Node energy.
Yeah.
Whereas South Node eclipses indicate established patterns, familiar talents or experiences which are ready to be released or refined. South Node eclipses tend to remove things from your life as the outgoing tide clears the beach and take things out with it. The theme is release, out, and the past.
Interesting.
So this is where we let go of basically our baggage, the junk, the relationships. What's this? The minimalism we are releasing.
The focus is on letting go of things so that you can be more true to yourself and you can move forward with purpose.
Because sometimes the past holds you back because preconceived ideas, what you were taught as a kid.
It doesn't have to be things, possessions, or it can be things you learn that you need to unlearn.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's South Node, and this is what your one is. That's what we're saying. Interesting. Me too. But you've got it there on Saturn, and we have to then, we take it one step further and say, what does Saturn represent, blah, 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 and go down that road. So anyway, so that's kind of interesting too. So eclipses happen where the moon is. The sun will be near a node and the moon will be near a node when an eclipse happens. But you want to pay attention where the moon is because that's where the eclipse occurs.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, casting the prenatal eclipse chart.
Yeah.
So, you use your place of birth. That's what we're going for. And you cast the chart. So, we know that yours was on the June the 30th, your year of birth, and you can cast the actual eclipse chart. I haven't done that. I did it for Keanu Reeves. But you would cast that chart and you can interpret this chart and say, what does this eclipse say? What was the message of that eclipse when I was in my mother's uterus?
Yeah.
I was thinking of the word there.
Yeah, that is the word.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can definitely treat your prenatal eclipse chart as a chart in its own right. And later you can compare the prenatal eclipse chart with your natal chart, looking for repeated themes, planetary contacts, and significant placements.
Right. That's where you can do the bi-wheel thing.
Yes, you could do that as well.
Yeah.
But you can certainly cast the prenatal eclipse chart and interpret the eclipse, because that would have been the effect of that eclipse anyway.
Right.
And when you look at prenatal eclipses, you build another interpretive tool which can complement your chart readings throughout your astrological studies. So there's no downside to doing this.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you? Once you've got a grip on the main things in astrology, go down this road. Yeah.
Totally.
So the idea is that once you've got the chart and you know what it meant, what the main themes was in that chart, you can also begin interpreting the eclipse itself, its relationship to your natal chart, and the Saros series from which it originated. So Saros series are all eclipses are in families. They come in Saros families and they are numbered. Yours is numbered 11. And the idea is that as the shadow of the moon passes over the face of the earth every 18 years, there's a same eclipse in the same Saros family.
Oh, okay, cool.
So this repeats. So you start at the south and it moves its way across the face of the earth. And this is one for another day. And then you have north, which is coming down. So you definitely want to go back to, if you're a serious astrologer, you'll go back and cast the Saros birth chart for the eclipse that you have to see what the meaning of that chart was, because that is the original information comes from there. What do you call it when you do research and you have to go back to the original source?
The original source, yeah.
The original source.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is where I recommend Bernadette Brady's book, Forecast, what's it called? Anyway, I'll get it in a moment.
Yeah.
I've actually listed here. Yes, it's called Predictive Astrology, The Eagle and the Lark by Bernadette Brady. She's got all the Saroses in there and a basic interpretation of the Saros original chart and listing all the eclipses for astrologers.
Wow.
So I absolutely recommend that book as well.
Yeah, then you could just glance at it and see what...
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you can say, here's my eclipse, because you've got that particular one.
Yeah.
Go and find that Saros, and then you can say, okay, that was the original Saros. My prenatal eclipse was one of that family, and it's in my chart here.
Right.
So you see there's multiple steps to actually finding an interpretation.
Because you need the actual time, too, obviously. Not just the date of the eclipse, right?
Yeah, but she's got that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and NASA has too, right? Or wherever you get yours from. You see, there are other points in your chart that we're quite happy to use. We use the ascendant, we use the midheaven, it's just a point. And the vertex part of fortune and the lunar nodes. So as a planet transits your prenatal eclipse point, and for you, Arwen, it is at 9 Cancer.
Yeah.
Every time there's a transit across 9 Cancer, it's going to trigger your prenatal eclipse.
Interesting.
Now, this is not earth-shattering stuff. It's subtle things coming from the nature of that actual chart.
Yeah.
So the way to understand prenatal eclipses is to track the transits to your chart. So every month the moon will go around. Once a year the sun will cross it. Venus and Mercury will go past it. Mars will transit it every 2 years. And then the others may or may not transit it. Jupiter and Saturn will, but the others may not necessarily do that.
Yeah. I'm guessing that England just scored.
Well, or Mexico. We never know. We're watching the game. Well, we're not watching it, but the city's watching it. And they will not be quiet.
Wow.
Okay, so we've just opened the ephemeris, and Arwen is now following along with what we all just said, and she's finding her eclipse here. Yeah,
and funnily enough, I don't know how funny it is actually, but I was looking at astro.com, and it's actually a 9,000 year ephemeris, and they do not list the eclipses. So I take back what I said. You cannot find it that way, but if you do have an actual ephemeris, like the massive, American ephemeris tome that Alison has, then you can actually look it up. And I have just run my prenatal eclipse time, which we determined since I was born in August of 1973. The prenatal eclipse was June 1973, June 30th. And we looked up at the time. The time is 11:37 a.m. And we're going to cast that for the time or the place where I was born, which is Vancouver, BC. And so I've got that chart up. Sun in Cancer, Moon in Cancer, Mercury in Leo, Venus in Leo, Mars in Aries. Holy crap, I was fiery. Before my birth, I must have been just kicking up a storm.
Probably.
In the womb, in the uterus.
Another heartburn.
Well, I certainly didn't like the Neil Young concert. I was just like, get me out of here.
That's funny, yeah. So that's quite simple, though. You go into the ephemeris, you go back, you find the eclipse listing. Yeah. There it is, large as life. If you're still fumbling around, you can go to NASA or, speak to your astrologer. They'll be able to cast it for you.
Yes.
And then once you've got the eclipse chart, you can interpret the eclipse chart. What are the aspects to this eclipse point?
Right.
Are the conjunctions, blah, blah, blah.
You're looking at the actual placement of the moon. And for me, that's 12 degrees Cancer in my eclipse chart. And then you can also, if you want, run a biwheel and do
you can do that as well,
do a synastry against your own birth chart and say, what are the connections?
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Because this is a complicated thing, and it occurred to me when I was researching this for this article, I thought it would be handy to have a prenatal eclipse tracker.
Yeah.
So I went and designed one. And
of course you did.
Of course you did. If you click through to the blog post, you can download my prenatal eclipse tracker. And it actually gives you several pages where you can write down what date these planets are going to transit your prenatal eclipse.
Wow. Cool.
You're going to have to find them yourself. I'm not telling you when it's happening, obviously, but it's a page to help you sort out what you're looking for so that you can actually say, well, it's going to be in June or whenever. June the so-and-so. And for the sun, it'll be the same day every single year.
Yeah.
And then the moon will come around each month, and you can list ahead of time these dates so that you can then monitor energies being pressured onto your prenatal eclipse point and say, I'm seeing a theme here. I'm seeing a pattern here.
Also, if you know someone who has their sun at the exact degree of your prenatal moon, so, for example, for me, anyone whose sun is at 12 degrees Cancer would be someone who might trigger some sort of nostalgic feeling, some sort of karmic feeling, some feeling like I've known you before. Why are you in my life? This is meaningful, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because it's very core or integral to sun moon energy. It's really doesn't really have much to do with any other types of energy.
Yeah.
Because, as you know, astrologically, we say that the sun is the first thing. If someone's pregnant, you hear the heartbeat. That's the sun.
Yeah.
Then when they're born, they're saying, feed me, and that's the moon. And finally, they start talking. I think we've spoken about this before.
And when they take their first breath, that's when the ascendant is, because that's the moment that they interact with the world.
Yes.
And that's the moment that they're first seen as alive.
Yes.
They're not considered alive. I mean, once they're actually born, it's not until they take their first breath
That's right.
that they're considered alive. That's the birth moment.
Yeah.
You can be removed from the womb, but if you don't actually take a first breath, that's not going on the record. It's not going on the birth chart.
On the birth chart.
Or the birth, what's the word?
Record?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever they decide to write down.
Yeah. Birth certificate. There you go.
Birth certificate.
That's the one.
Yes. Well, if they do that, I know when my kids were born, I had my husband there, and he had 3 watches on his arm, and his only job in that labour ward was to get the time, because there was nothing else he could do. Nothing.
Thank goodness my mother and grandmother were both astrologers, so they know the minute I was born.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very, very correct. Yeah.
And we encourage people to do this.
We do.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you are at all intrigued or interested in looking further into prenatal eclipses, you can go to the blog post. You can download my tracker. It's a PDF, and you just put your email address in and it gets sent to you. And then you can print this thing out and use it for the rest of your life to track your prenatal eclipses. I'm not doing the interpretations. It's for you to say, I need to pay attention to this day, and this day, and this day. And you may find that, say, some of the outer planets, like, say, for instance, if we look at Arwen's chart, her Pluto is in no position to ever conjoin her prenatal eclipse.
Oh, thank goodness.
Neptune also is unlikely to conjoin her prenatal eclipse. Uranus, maybe.
Yeah.
But Saturn would have done it virtually immediately after birth. So that would have come and passed. But Saturn comes around every 30 years, so you do get a second chance on that.
Yeah.
But then when we get to things like Jupiter, and Jupiter will be once in 12 years, and you need to find what date is this?
Yeah.
So that you can say, I've got my Jupiter conjunct prenatal eclipse coming up on the 15th of March next year.
Someone make me a cupcake.
Yeah. And ice it. And I need a T-shirt.
Why not?
I survived Jupiter conjunct my prenatal eclipse.
Just in glyphs. If you know, you know. You know?
But the moon's every month. The sun's once a year.
Yeah.
And Mercury and Venus is every year.
Yeah.
So the idea is that if you've got this tracker, you can you just write the dates down, find the dates. And if you're kind of a beginner astrology, it will stretch you. And if you know what you're doing astrologically, you'll know about it already and you won't need my tracker.
Yeah.
She said confidently. So yeah. So anyway, that's I made it. I think it's like a 12 or 13 page thingy I just made, because once I start, there's no end to it. What's going to happen next? Yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah. So I do have a couple of extend yourself ideas about how to get going, and even where do you go from here.
I love it.
Just for my prenatal eclipses, so I'm saying in your astrology journal and referencing your natal chart and an ephemeris, do the following. Find your prenatal eclipse. That just says it so simply. Mm-hmm. Decide which house in your natal chart your prenatal eclipse is found. List any conjunctions or oppositions to your prenatal eclipse point. Determine if it was a solar or lunar eclipse. Note the moon's node, north or south, where the eclipse took place, and then cast the prenatal eclipse chart for your place of birth. Now, if you can do that, you are really ahead of the game. Mm-hmm. And then I've got to extend yourself further sections, which is really to do with the interpretation. So what I'm saying here is, in your astrology journal and referencing your natal chart, your prenatal eclipse chart, and ephemeris, do the following. Interpret any conjunctions to planets in your prenatal eclipse chart. 50 words. Do you have any conjunctions in your prenatal eclipse chart? We're just having a quick squiz there.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Sun and moon are conjunct in Cancer.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah. So for the solar eclipse.
Because it's an eclipse,
we'll take that as a given.
And Mercury and Venus.
Mercury and Venus are conjoined. Well, that's what you're... that's
an out-of-sign conjunction.
Okay.
Cancer and Leo.
And what about an opposition? Do you have any...
I'm sorry, they're both in Leo.
Do you have any oppositions to your prenatal eclipse point?
No.
No. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. Interpret that 50 words for an interpretation.
Yeah.
Interpret your prenatal eclipse chart itself. Cast the chart, print it out, and say, what is this chart? What's the ascendant? Where's the placement? What house is it in? Mm-hmm. What's aspecting this prenatal eclipse? This is an eclipse chart that astrologers at that time would have been looking at.
Yeah. Well, actually, the North Node, of course, is actually opposite because...
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
So you've interpreted the natal, you've interpreted the prenatal eclipse chart itself. Then you're going to find the Sarah series for the prenatal eclipse. So Sarah says, we only want the solar eclipse. So you need to get Brady's book. Go back and find the Sarah series and cast that chart, which may go back years because Sarah says live forever. well, not forever, but a hell of a long time. And then once you've got your Saros series prenatal eclipse chart, this is relevant to you. It's not just like a regular old eclipse happening next month. Then interpret the Saros series birth chart of your prenatal eclipse. Go back to the source. Is it a lot of work? It sounds like it.
Sounds like it, yeah. It does. There are some people who are just taking notes and being like, yes, this is amazing. I'm on it. Yeah.
And I'm downloading my tracker as we speak, because that's the first step, really. It's quite simple. You've got to find the eclipse, put it in your chart, cast the eclipse chart, list all the transits to your prenatal eclipse point that are coming up, because there might be one tomorrow or next week, and you need to be paying attention so that you can do some research here, and then go back and find the original Saros chart, cast that, and interpret it.
Yeah.
Yes, because the prenatal eclipse that is in your birth chart that was affected you is personal to you.
Yeah.
Whereas an eclipse we're going to have in December, which maybe Sarah's 17, blah, 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 is passing by. It's for everybody.
Yeah.
But this is relevant to you.
Yeah.
That's why we like to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You know? Yeah. And even if you've got a planet stationing on it and doing 3 hits to it, you want to be making some notes about it, paying attention to it.
That's a great point, yeah.
And if you are in any way a lunar-styled astrologer, go down this road. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just realizing now, because it is conjunct because my prenatal eclipse moon is conjunct my Saturn, was conjunct my Saturn. That means that my Saturn return was also hitting my prenatal eclipse moon.
Correct. All your Saturn returns will.
Yeah. Yikes.
Adding to the flavor.
Adding to the flavor and the intensity, which, I mean, we've talked about my Saturn return before. And if you're curious and you haven't heard that episode, please go listen to our Saturn return episode. Because my Saturn return hit me on the day in a very, very emotional way. I had my first and only anxiety attack literally on the day.
Wow.
Yeah. And I came home and I looked at my chart and I was like, oh, well, great. That makes sense. That's why I was crying in the streets, uncontrollably.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So that is something, that's another reason to look, because not everyone has that on their Saturn return, but if there's this double whammy thing, and you might not even know, if you didn't know about your prenatal eclipse, you might just think, well, geez, Saturn affected me stronger than most people.
Exactly.
And that would be why.
And, you know, it's the moon's coming by every single month. The moon is very significant with prenatal eclipses, obviously. You want to be saying, well, you know, this month it's on the 12th and then the 13th and next month it's the 14th or whatever it is. And start paying attention to these transits. Don't just think, oh, yeah, well, you know, it's full moon, new moon. Pay attention to what's coming around your chart and understand the subtleties of these points within your chart that these planets are transiting to.
Yeah.
Now, to be quite clear, any point in your chart would benefit from a tracker.
Yeah.
The same principles apply.
For sure.
But we are just talking about prenatal eclipses at the moment.
Yeah.
So technically you could download the tracker and use it for, I don't know, when does a planet cross my midheaven? You could do the exact same thing.
Yeah, totally.
But the point is that we're talking prenatal eclipses. It's not something you would naturally learn about. It's not in all the books. But as an astrologer, I urge you to educate yourself, know a bit more, and make a richer understanding of the topic. Okay, so we have been talking about prenatal eclipses in this episode. This is the eclipse that occurs whilst your mother was still pregnant with you and you were still in the womb. It's the eclipse that happened before your birth. We've gone through a few ways about how to find it, what to do when you have found it. And we've also got, I've got this prenatal eclipse tracker that you can download.
Yes.
PDF download and track your prenatal eclipses as well.
Great. Great idea. Do that.
So if you have found value in this episode, please do consider sharing it with anybody who'd be interested. Make sure that you're getting our newsletter, and you can sign up at starzology.com/newsletter. Additionally, make sure you're getting Arwen's newsletter, and you can find Arwen at...
I'm at mspink.net, mspink.net, and you can find my newsletter coming out every Saturday.
Fantastic. So thank you so much for everyone who's got this far, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the 2 main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. if you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer or someone who's learning astrology or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.